Coming up in this video, why the 144,000 is not a literal number but a divine code hiding in plain sight. How Gematria and Jewish numerology explain the mysterious meaning behind the tribes. And why this number is one of the most misused in modern theology. Let's jump right in. Now here's number 1. Where is 144,000 mentioned in the Bible? The number 144,000 shows up in exactly 2 places in the book of Revelation. First, in Revelation chapter 7 and verses 4 through 8, and again in Revelation chapter 14 and verses 1 through 5. In chapter 7, the 144,000 are described as being sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. That's 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes. In chapter 14, they are seen with the Lamb standing on Mount Zion, having the name of the Father written on their foreheads. Many people have taken this number literally. Some groups even build their theology on it. But if we understand the background of the book of Revelation, things start to make more sense. You see, Revelation is an apocalyptic book, which means it is drenched in symbolism, poetic images, and numeric codes that would have been well understood by first-century Jewish readers. So rather than getting stuck on whether this number is literal, we need to look beneath the surface. Keep watching, because what comes next will unlock everything. Now here's number 2. What is Gematria and why does it matter? Gematria is an ancient Jewish method of assigning numerical values to letters and words. In the Hebrew language, letters double as numbers. So, for example, Aleph equals 1, Bet equals 2, Yod equals 10, and so on. This means that in ancient Jewish thinking, numbers were never just numbers. They carried meaning. For example, the number 7 represented perfection or completeness, while the number 40 symbolized testing and preparation. So when we get to Revelation and we see symbolic numbers like 1,000, 12, or 100, and 44,000, it's not about counting heads. It's about conveying a deep spiritual truth through numbers. And that's exactly what's happening here. Now here's number 3, the true meaning behind 144,000. Let's break down this mysterious number. 144,000 is the product of 12 times. 12 times 1,000. 12 represents the people of God. In the Old Testament, there were 12 tribes of Israel. In the New Testament, there were 12 apostles. 12 is the number of God's covenant community. So what happens when you multiply 12 by 12? You get 144, which represents the fullness of God's people, both Old and New Covenant. Now multiply that by 1,000, a number that represents magnitude, completeness, or overwhelming abundance. Put that all together and you get 144,000, a perfectly complete and vast multitude of redeemed people from all time periods and places. This number is not random. It's not literal. It's Gematria, and it's breathtakingly beautiful once you understand the meaning. Now here's number 4. Why the 144,000 can't be literal. Let's say you did try to take this number literally. You'd run into several major problems. First, in Revelation chapter 14 and verses 4 through 5, the 144,000 are described as virgins who have not defiled themselves with women. If taken literally, this would exclude all women and any married men. That would disqualify most Christians throughout history. Second, this would limit God's redemption to ethnic Israelites only. That contradicts Revelation chapter 7 verse 9, where we are told that a great multitude no one can number comes from every nation, tribe, people, and language. And third, the math simply doesn't work. You'd have to believe that exactly 12,000 people from each of the 12 tribes of Israel will be saved, no more, no less. But in reality, 10 of those tribes were lost to history centuries before Revelation was written. Something doesn't add up, unless the number is symbolic. Stick with me because the next point connects all the dots. Now here's number 5. How the 144,000 echoes Jewish apocalyptic writings. Outside the Bible, in Jewish apocalyptic writings like the Dead Sea Scrolls, we see the same kind of symbolic counting. One famous scroll even lists 12,000 from each tribe for God's final army. The authors weren't doing a census. They were using symbolic structure to represent purity, order, and divine completeness. The first century Jewish mind would have immediately understood that John, the writer of Revelation, was painting a theological picture, not conducting a headcount. Now here's number 6. What makes this number even more profound? There's another powerful layer to this symbolism. You see, 144 is 12 squared. That's 12 times 12. And in Jewish thinking, squaring a number amplifies its significance. It's like saying this is the most complete version of completeness. It's perfection. Intensified. Then by multiplying it by 1,000, John is painting a picture of a vast, victorious, complete, and glorious redeemed people, not just a small exclusive club. So the number 144,000 becomes a kind of heavenly math problem with one solution: total redemption. Now here's number 7. Let's walk through Revelation, chapter 7, verse by verse. In Revelation chapter 7, verse 1, John sees 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds. This image uses the number 4, which symbolizes global reach. The 4 directions, the 4 corners of the earth. The message: God's judgment is being held back until His people are marked. Then in verse 2, another angel comes from the rising of the sun, carrying the seal of the living God. The rising sun was a symbol of hope, and the seal means protection and ownership. In verse 3, the angel says, "Do not harm the earth or the sea until the servants of God are sealed on their foreheads." This sealing is symbolic. It shows that they belong to God, much like the mark of the beast represents allegiance to evil later in Revelation. Then, in verses 4 through 8, John hears the number of the sealed, 144,000, and he lists 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes. But here's the twist. If you read carefully, the tribes are listed in a strange order. The tribe of Dan is missing. The tribe of Joseph is included, but Ephraim is excluded. Levi is listed, even though it usually isn't in tribal censuses. John is reshuffling the list to make a theological point, not a genealogical record. And then comes the biggest reveal of all in verse 9. John says, "After this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number from every nation, tribe, people, and language." Do you see what just happened? John hears one thing: the symbolic census of the 144,000. But then he sees something else: the actual reality. A global, diverse, uncountable multitude worshiping before the Lamb. This is the same group seen from 2 perspectives, one symbolic, the other visual. Now here's number 8. The scene in Revelation chapter 14 confirms it all. In Revelation chapter 14, verse 1, John sees the Lamb standing on Mount Zion with the 144,000. Mount Zion is a symbol of God's victorious rule. Then in verse 4, the group is described as those who have not defiled themselves with women, for they are virgins. This isn't about literal celibacy. It's about spiritual purity. Just like Israel in the Old Testament was called a virgin when faithful or a harlot when rebellious, this group is faithful to the Lamb. In verse 5, we're told they speak no lies and are blameless. These are moral and spiritual descriptors, not legalistic checklists. In other words, the 144,000 is a spiritual symbol of the complete, pure, redeemed people of God, not a secret spiritual elite. Now here's number 9. What this means for you. Do not be afraid of being left out. You are not excluded because you're not Jewish or because you're not part of a mysterious group. The 144,000 is a symbolic way of saying that God knows exactly who are His. They are sealed, protected, and they stand victorious with the Lamb. This is not a terrifying number, it's a comforting one, a Gematria-based symbol of the fullness of God's family. So, you see, the number 144,000 isn't a literal roll call, it's a divine code that tells a powerful story. That God has redeemed a complete, worldwide, pure, and faithful people. It is drawn from both the Old and New Covenant and sealed forever with the name of the Father on their foreheads. It is not a number meant to exclude you, but a number meant to reassure you. It's not a membership limit. It's a message of total redemption. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.